I think I brought an update to y'all last meeting that we weren't able to use that current roller hockey slab as it was because it had post tension cabling in it. So we're gonna investigate pouring basically a 3 foot slab just so they could anchor that wall in. Talked to a couple of contractors since then. I just want to give you all an update. We don't have to take any action on this. I just want to make sure we're still kind of going in the same direction. But it looks like it'll be less than $10,000 to make those improvements. More than likely, it'll be around 7,500. So in the resolution that y'all originally passed, that had the extra funds to take care of that slab. I just wanted to come back with that update and make sure that it's still kind of consensus we want to push forward in moving that program along.
Sounds good. Is it on the end towards the road or the end towards the back part, the pond area?
This is going to be towards the road, but we're going to do 3 foot by the entire length of the roller.
Okay.
Ramp, just
Okay.
so it looks uniform.
Okay.
And then it'll be towards the road that way. When you utilize that parking spot, kind of be able to still see the playground area if you're out there working out and you have kids. And maybe they can do some stuff on the other end as well.
The other side, they would have to excavate.
On the other end?
The other end, because it drops off for probably 3 or 4 foot.
So that's it. I'll go ahead and get with those folks and we'll go ahead and get the equipment ordered and I'll send it here and we'll get that concrete work done and get it assembled as quickly as possible.
So how long does it take for it once it is ready to go for the fitness court people to come and how long does it take to set that all up?
I don't think it'll take that long to set it up. There may be a curing period that we need to wait on for the concrete, before they would do that. But we'll go ahead and get it ordered. That way it's all here. And we still qualify for that Blue Cross Blue Shield $50,000 grant. That would carry over.
Very good. Very good. Is that it?
That's it.
Okay, discussion and possible action on the purchase of a fire rescue apparatus for the Caldwell Fire Department.
Okay, so I think in your packet, we got an invoice here. What we're looking at doing, the current rescue truck that we have is a 1992 model. So it is an older model. It's also a little bit small in order to carry all the rescue tools that our fire department uses now. So what we were looking is try to find an economical way to upgrade that unit, but not have to wait 2 years for a new truck to be built as well. So when I was at TML, I actually made a contact that had some of these used rescue trucks and other fire apparatuses. And we came across this one that's in front of you, which is a 2008 model truck. Chief Peavy-House went up and a couple other members from our fire department and looked it over, drove it, said it's in really good shape for what it is. If we were to buy this thing brand new today, I think you'd be looking around $700,000 for it. But this truck, they've got listed at 140. Chief Peavy-House agreed you'd probably get at least 10 years plus use out of it going forward. And that'll also allow us to kind of keep up with our capital improvements for that, our capital replacement plan, because we're going to need another engine in the next couple of years as well. So it's kind of what that's about. Chief Peavy-House, if you have any questions for him, I'm sure he's happy to answer them. I know he and the rest of the fire department I hadn't seen him smile this much in a while.
I think it had low mileage.
It had very low mileage, yes, 37,000 miles, less than 3,000 hours on the engine. I mean, you want to talk about how it drove? The one that they have now, they can't get over 55 miles an hour, from my understanding.
About 62.
Yeah,
And it's probably free, yeah. Yeah, we went drove it a few miles. It seems good intact. The space is there what we need. Right now, our own hours that we got stuff stacked on it. So if we get to a certain site, we would have to unload some stuff and get to certain stuff. We've got some in the storage that we can't carry all the time. So, yeah, it seems to be, I think it's going to be well ended. And we'll
bid in the firehouse.
Yes,
Is it a Ford with 6-liter diesel?
sir. I got inner ear problems.
Oh, I'm sorry. Is it a Ford with the 6-liter diesel?
No, sir.
Okay.
It's got a Cummins in it,
Oh, okay.
generator's built, space on top is what we call coffins.
Mm.
We can store light stuff up there that we don't use all the time, and so forth.
Oh, yeah, it's the same color too, same color scheme, so it's red, we'll be able to kind of put our logo on there and move equipment over, and we'll evaluate kind of when we get to that point, kind of depending on the action y'all take tonight, what we'll do with the old truck. We may see if we can get some money back out of it.
So do we have a motion to purchase a fire rescue apparatus for Caldwell Fire Department?
I make a motion to purchase this. I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
I'm sorry, raise your right hand. And none opposed, motion passes. Discussion and possible action on accepting funds through the State of Texas Community Development Block Grant Mitigation Action Plan in the amount of approximately $892,100.
So we kind of signed, the mayor signed for this prior, it was at about $630,000 at that time. This is a part of a Hurricane Harvey mitigation funds that is still being passed down. There was about 25, I don't know if it says in this letter, but we've got about $25 million that was earmarked for the Brazos Valley. It's kind of gone, we do expect this value to change based on the allocations that BB makes. So like I said, a couple weeks ago it was 630,000. They tweaked some things based off of public comment that we had. There's another public hearing later this week that I'll be going to. But depending on how they weight certain factors, that value could go up or down. So this is free money that we don't have to apply for. We've got to use it for, I guess, emergency mitigation type things. I think I've mentioned before that I would look to put in another generator over there at County Road 300 Waterworks, and then do some, the detention basin that we've talked about right here by the railroad tracks. So both those expenses qualify for this type of project. So this is just basically saying that we'll accept the money. I think when we make that motion, depending on how it changes, I just think that we authorize the mayor to make that decision, to be able to sign on behalf of the city to accept these funds.
I'll make that motion.
So all in favor of accepting these funds from the State of Texas Community Development Block Grant Mitigation Action Plan in the amount of approximately $892,000, raise your right hand. None opposed, motion passes. Finally, discussion and possible action to authorize the city administrator to enter into a power purchase agreement with either Constellation Energy or Next Era Energy.
Okay, you ready for the fun of this one?
We love that.
Let me go ahead and give you the current status. We're with Lico Cajun right now, and our contract expired with them several months ago, and they wouldn't renew anything based off of a fixed price. So we've been buying power on the day ahead market. That's cost quite a bit more as gas prices soared, and they're kind of slowly coming down right now. Lico Cajun is in the process of being bought out, or they're looking to make a change. So they sent us a letter, I believe it was last month, saying that they were going to go ahead and exercise their option to terminate with us. So we've got to find another power provider. So what we're looking at right now, we went back to Constellation, we went back to Next Era, just to see what their fixed prices would be. Fixed prices right now for Constellation is 70. Well, anyway, I don't know that I can actually push that out during open session as far as what we're discussing price wise. Once we actually finalize something, I can bring it back. But this is one of those things where, because of the way that MISO works, and updating their model, we're gonna have to make a decision by the 15th. So we'll definitely go with the lowest priced one. But right now, I'm trying to look at some other options, whether that be index pricing based off of heat rate, which we're looking at that, and that'd probably be around the same price. I'm trying to see if we can work a different deal to where we got shoulder months, which we're kind of in the shoulder months right now, so prices are running about $40 a megawatt hour. I don't want to be paying over that when I know that we can get that on the open market. So I'm trying to see if we can coast kind of over the next shoulder months. So we're with Clico until March the 1st. And after March the 1st, we'll have to have another provider. But I'm just trying to figure out the best way to structure that. And I really can't afford to wait until we have another meeting to go ahead and try to move into a contract with them. We can if y'all want.
Can if we want to do what?
I mean, we've got a meeting on the 15th, but I've got to see, that's kind of like the drop dead deadline that we need to go ahead and get the ball rolling so we can make that change in March.
With either Constellation or Next Era.
Right.
And if we don't do that, then
Yeah, we're gonna,
then by March we're
well, so everything's got to change to the MISO model. So if we don't start making those changes, like by the middle of this month, then we'll be delayed and possibly face fines and not have anybody representing us in the market.
Have we had electricity from Constellation or Next Era before?
Not to my knowledge. Both of them are well-known companies. That doesn't bother me. It's just kind of the structure of the contract and trying to do what's best for our ratepayers. You know, it's one area where the city takes more risk and there may be more reward and we get a better price versus going the safe route and pick up a fixed price for X amount. And, you know, sometimes we win, sometimes they win.
So do you have someone that you are leaning towards?
So as I said, both companies, well-known companies, I don't have an issue working with either one. What I'll lean towards is what the best structure for a deal is going to be. You know, if there's any flexibility where we can capitalize and save money, and when I say save money, I was looking at today is save like 180,000 a month over those 3 months. But if they're not willing to structure a deal that way, well, then the only thing we have is to go back to a fixed price, and then in that case, we would go with the lowest price.
You recommend what we make a decision kind of quickly.
So let you start negotiating.
Actually,
Give him
yeah, give me an authorization
There you go.
to execute a deal.
Well, we don't want to miss, I mean, because that's what happened
What happens?
earlier in this year. I mean, by the time they went to legal and they came back to us, I mean, that stuff was off the table because even though we were meeting twice a month at that time.
Yes, it's going to be that quick, and if
That was, I think that was our last attorney.
Mhm.
I looked at the futures, I think, on natural gas, I think what I saw was like next April or May before we get to a rate that we're used to seeing, like maybe last.
yeah, so futures for April are like 450,
That's what I'm
460.
saying, 450.
So that's why I hate to jump into that fixed rate. If there's something else we can negotiate before we jump into a fixed rate to where we'd be protected over summer, that would be ideal, in my opinion. But I don't know if we're going to be able to do that. That's what I'm trying to do. If these companies work with us, then that's the direction I would go. If not, then we're looking at, you know, the lowest fixed price we can get, because both are good companies.
What are some typical, length of contracts? Are they ones that you have an idea?
So that's the other thing. If we did this fixed contract, we'd be looking at 15 months. And with the volatility in the market, I don't think I'd want to go much longer than that. They've offered anything as long as 24 to 36 months, but you know, if we have that, you know, a lot can change in that amount of time. these rates they're high.
So you're just asking for permission
I'm asking for permission
and enter into
to enter into a contract.
contract.
I make a motion that we give an authorization to enter into a contract on behalf of the city.
Second.
All in favor of authorizing City Administrator Camden White to enter into a power purchase agreement with either Constellation Energy or Next Era Energy, raise your right hand. All in favor, motion passes.
I'll bring, whatever we put together, I'll bring back and report to y'all. If it can wait until the 15th, then I'll bring it back and try to get y'all's blessing on it. But some of these things we gotta move a little bit quicker on.
Okay, administrative elected officials report.
All right, let's stick with the electricity. I don't know how quickly, we're gonna have to bear with me on this one. We may have to schedule an electrical outage similar to what we've had before to fix some things in the substation. I talked with Forrest today about how we wanna notify. The last time we used what's our notification platform? Alert Sense to everybody that was signed up, they got a note ahead of time. We may look at some other stuff. I'm open to suggestions from the council if y'all want to see it pushed out a little bit more, on our website, or if y'all think that's good, using the Alert Sense.
When would it come out?
When would it come out? It's going to be similar to the other one, like 1 o'clock in the morning, and maybe for about 2 hours.
No, but I'm saying,
Oh, the
Like you
notice?
give how many
Yeah.
pieces?
Yeah, we sent the notice a day ahead of time, but we discussed today maybe putting it on the website 2 or 3 days ahead of time, just so folks would know. And, there's always like that public safety factor that I worry about of announcing it too early.
what about social media?
What we talked about was putting on the website and then linking that maybe the day before. Just,
What was the deal with it the last time that the city received so much grief for? Was it hot or cold? Was it too hot? Did
it's not too bad.
Okay,
This would be perfect.
Okay, so we'll kind of work that direction. We'll notify folks that way. Update on Sage Energy. They are no longer looking to use Country Club Road. They'll be utilizing 316 to get to that site. And then since we're talking about power, we've been investigating a move into the ERCOT interconnection for quite a while. That's kind of picking up. What I hope to do, I think we've narrowed down a site. I still got to do some more due diligence on it. But what I'm hoping to do is possibly in December, bring back an apples to apples kind of capital cost that would take us into ERCOT versus what we've spent. We stayed in MISO for a new transformer and bus upgrades. So I'm hoping in December to bring that to y'all. We're also going to be having conversations with ERCOT. I've had ongoing conversations with all parties, but we're going to kind of hopefully bring that to a head, and we'll be sitting in front of y'all to make a decision on, if we move to ERCOT or we stay where we're at. I think that's it.
update on City Hall.
I think we're good.
Miss Melissa. Lee.
No, ma'am. Okay.
Well, wait. There isn't anything. I mentioned it to Camden, had a Woodson employee, about Thomas Street. Thomas Street has an angle street that goes to the elementary behind Alfred's.
That's alligator.
That's how There's two there's two yield signs. Thomas Street goes, basically, it's used a lot because it goes all the way, it's got one stop sign, before you get to Buck Street.
Mhm. At the Methodist Church.
Yes. So our employee, he was coming down, just go get breakfast. This lady, I don't know if she was late, but she never observed the yield sign. She's going about 45 miles an hour. He's in a half-ton Silverado. I sent him the video. It flipped his truck. If his wife would have been on the other side, that could have been bad. She would have been hurt pretty bad. But she never observed anything. So anyway, I'm just I know there's a stop sign at the next street, which is Harvey. But both of those streets only have one stop sign before it gets to Buck. So those two streets are the most utilized.
Wasn't this before school one morning,
Yes.
elementary drop-off
It's about
situation?
7:40 in the morning.
Mhm.
But I mean, she literally, I don't know how it happened, because I mean, she must have hit him just right, and it flipped his.
She hung right up underneath the cab on the passenger side.
But I mean, if there had been,
So I know Charles had an alternate route for parent drop-off in the morning to get people off of the highway and stuff. Do you know if he ever spoke with Dr. Barton?
No, we can pick that back up. But I think, I mean, for the concern that he's raising, I mean, I'm happy to bring that back to either four-way stop or instead of those yield signs, put stop signs there. And let the council take action on that. That's generally how we have brought new stop signs into the city. That way it's kind of,
he said I'd have to bring it, but I'm just mentioning it because
yeah,
So they were
Where are the
down Alligator.
they were coming from, say, Zippy.
So they were heading
To the
west,
school.
heading west
To the school.
on Alligator. So back behind the nail shop,
Yes.
crossed over back behind Brewers,
Well, no, it is directly behind the
Bo Brewers,
Bose and
Alford's.
Offers.
Okay, so the intersection of Alligator and Thomas.
yes.
Okay, heading west. Got it.
I don't know how she got it. If she stopped at the other yield sign, I don't know how she got to the rate she got.
And so he was stopped and he expected her to stop?
No, because he had the right of way.
There's no stop sign on Thomas at that intersection.
It's more in Harvey to have the stop sign.
Harvey has the stop signs.
Yeah, right there where
That's the one
the
that I
difference.
ran along quite a few times before I figured there was a stop sign.
Anyway,
That's right, Thomas doesn't.
Okay, I had one be inquired about on public streets, parking on the street, overnight, consistently. We don't have anything, like say, for instance, RV and was the gentleman that cuts trees that he parks his trailer truck right there at the stop sign. But you gotta pull out all the way to see, and by then sometimes drag Owens, because you just, that
Isn't it? It has to stay in the exact same location without being moved for 7 consecutive days. It's 7 consecutive days, but if he's getting up and going to work every day, there's nothing we can. I don't think so.
Yeah.
I think I double checked that once because I've got a neighbor that parks stuff too, but he gets up and goes to work every day with it. So.
because if the trailer's empty, but a lot of times it's full, or the truck, depends how he parks it. I mean, I've done it myself. You got to pull out to see, and sometimes.
What's the location?
Barron Tree Service.
Thomas and Fawn, isn't it?
Yeah, no, Harvey and
Harvey and Fawn.
Yeah. And the gentleman on Harvey and Clef, he just has too many vehicles. He parks at the stop sign, and I went to go visit my dad one evening, and luckily, I mean, it probably would have been my fault because I kept pulling out, see somebody's coming, and I pulled all the way out in the car. Luckily, was able to get over to the opposite. He parks right on the stop sign, but he has like 6 cars in one. He can't park on the driveway, so. But I know, I think Janice mentioned about 7 days consecutive because I know where a couple vehicles were sitting there. I think the city had to move because they weren't running, and you can see where the road was already. You know, it just sits there so long, and but he hasn't moved consistently because he has a lot of drivers. But I know some of them are just really bad because you can't see going out. But those are probably the 2 worst ones that people talk about. And I don't, but I, for instance, you know, I almost got hit myself on Harvey Glenn just now.
Guys, mark your calendar for Wednesday, December the 7th. It's the 5th year that Caldwell is a host site for the food drive. And it would just be awesome if you guys could come and hand out candy canes, load up food, sort food, something, make a presence. Last year we collected 13,000 pounds of food and $50,000. And per capita, Burleson County we just slam everybody, and that is without any corporate donations. 0 corporate. It's all local businesses, churches, and civic organizations. It's fantastic.
Is that in the form of a motion? I'll second it. Got that in the minutes? Roy will put that in the paper.
All that stays here, doesn't it?
Yes, first, yes, yes, absolutely. Yes, it does.
Does it get split between the 3?
So this is how it works. So the day of, and we collect all the food. So we have tables in a big giant U. You've been there, you've seen it. So when we collect 3 boxes of canned corn, we take 1 box to Christian Care, 1 box to Lutheran Church, and 1 box to In God's Hands. And that's how it's divided. So the money then is divided equally as well. But that particular ministry, they're not handed a check that night. It goes into an account at the food bank. So when that particular ministry goes to the food bank to get food, where they get meat, eggs, milk, fresh bread for like their distribution day, they use that money in that account. That ministry is never allowed to personally touch that money, if that makes sense. Because I know one of the ministries, the Cade Lake one, people think that, oh, they're taking the money. Those people never put their hands on that money, never. It's like you have credit at the grocery store, is basically how that works. So, and when you donate the money, it used to be for every $1 you donated, you could get $6 worth of, valued about $6 at the food bank. Well, I'm sure that's less now. It's probably a 1 to 4. So, but it still is a big deal. And then last year, it's called the Backpack Program at elementary and intermediate. So Caldwell Christian Care, they were to have met, actually I think they're meeting tomorrow, to decide whether they want to continue to be a food distribution ministry. They may go just back to doing the retail side of it. And if that's the case, then I'm going to really focus on people donating for that backpack, making that a ministry of its own, because it is a huge need for sending food home with little kids. So we'll get it out. Anything else? Okay, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So I'm
In a second. Go Astros.